Did we? Let me.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, this is the pre-roll for Nintendo's E3 2005 presentation.
My name is Reggie.
We're waiting to hear.
I'm about kicking ass.
Okay, let me. I'll pause for a moment.
And we're about.
So E3 2005, DS came out November 21st, 2004. Yes, me and my friend got it launch day, and it's doing very well. PSP came out in Japan. Yeah, it came out in Japan that December. Then the PSP was out in March, I believe, in North America. I got it day one because I didn't want PSP to. I wanted DS to survive the PSP, but I was actually a supporter of handheld and gaming in general advancing. So I did support both systems, but online, when people are saying, oh, the PSP is obviously going to destroy DS, or people actually saying, oh, it's a shame that DS is outselling the PSP. Like, it doesn't deserve to be outselling PSP. I would stick up for it, but I did support both systems with my own money, and I supported and advocated for both systems. But, yeah, we're waiting for news on Revolution. PS3 was already revealed. We're waiting for new news on Zelda, and at this point they were planning to launch Zelda later in 2005. They ended up pushing it to 2006 to launch alongside with the Wii. They painted the whole steps of the LA Convention Center with Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess artwork, and the Twilight Princess name, like, trademarks had leaked, but it wasn't officially confirmed that would be the name of the game. And I used some kind of loophole to get out of class early that day so I could get home and watch it with my friend. And watch Nintendo's E3 with my friend, who occasionally drops in on stream and drops into chat. So that's... And there was... In March, they revealed the second trailer for Twilight Princess, March 2005. They revealed the second trailer for Twilight Princess, and they hinted at Wolf Link, and they just showed a wolf howling at the end of the trailer, and I was like, oh my gosh, Link's going to be a werewolf in this game. I was close, not quite, but he would transform into a wolf. And I like wolves and transformation stuff, so that was a cool treat. But I was like, when they showed a wolf howling, I'm like, oh man, this Dark Zelda, and I think they're hinting that Link might be a werewolf in this upcoming game. But, yeah, there was... Iwata was refuting that Mario Kart DS would have Wi-Fi. At Game Developer Conference that year, people were asking him if Mario Kart DS would have online multiplayer via Wi-Fi, and Iwata was actually saying, well, it has multiplayer wireless, and we think that's good enough. He was hadn't decided... No, they had to have known at that point. They were just trying to play coy about it, because a lot of people were expecting Nintendo to not take DS online at all. So that's pretty much all of the lead-up we need into for Nintendo. And this is Nintendo realizing how good their E3 went last year, because they're using an actual remix of a lot of quotes from E3 the previous year at this point. Do I enjoy werewolf movies? Alright. Do I enjoy werewolf movies? I don't go out of my way to watch werewolf movies a lot, believe it or not. Now, I did see the famous werewolf transformation scene from American Werewolf in London when I was a little kid, and I already liked animal transformation and metamorphosis stuff before this. I must have been 5 or 6, and that's not a movie you'd show to a 5 or 6-year-old, but I was with my mother, and she approved of it. She knew I could take it. She knew, because we were watching a documentary about movie special effects. So they showed that the transformation scene out of context. They showed the full scene, and the scene where he's in the living room, not the scene where he's in the adult movie theater in London. And so I saw that scene, and just that one scene is out of context. Is not like so shocking, and because I already seen. You could argue the transformation scene in Pinocchio is even more scary than that. So I saw that scene, one of the most famous werewolf or horror movie transformation scenes of all time, out of context at a young age, and I guess it made an impression on me, even, even though I liked Metamorphosis themes and stuff in movies before that. But I actually do not go out of my way to watch werewolf movies a lot as much as you might expect. But back to Mr. Iwata, bless his heart.
I'm about making games.
And this is the beginning of Nintendo being aware of their own meme status, you could say. Quoting the Reggie quote that had already been famous on the internet for the previous year.
That's my game.
Please go away. Okay, there we go.
I kicked some, you know what. And I took his name. His name was Reggie. As Nintendo president, I'm also all about asking questions. So, Reggie, I have a question for you. Who's your daddy?
Yeah, this is back when you could get away with still having 4x3 screens to show gameplay on. This is before the sort of widescreen revolution. I'm going to mute this. Yeah, I'm going to turn on the volume for this in case it... Don't want this stock music to trigger any copyright stuff. I'm not worried about the stream getting taken down. I just don't want it to be muted for my purposes if I download this or anything. Yeah, I'm playing with take a little break from the gameplay. Oh, Electroplankton. Yeah, Electroplankton was pretty much a downloadable game that was trapped in an age before downloadable games really being a thing, even on home consoles. Oh boy, there's some Zelda. Yeah, Mario Kart DS, that was gonna come out in like October 2005? There's Beautiful Joe. And just having, like, the idea of having a side-scrolling game rendered in 3D, with 3D graphics was, I mean, it's more common now, but it was like a new idea that's like, oh, what a throwback, is actually a side-scrolling game in an age where that's no longer a thing. There was a point where side-scrolling games were really thought of in the sense of black and white movies or Zeppelin, something that once existed, but now has gone away and really isn't going to come back. Now it's very different, especially with the indie scene nowadays.
Good morning and welcome. As we at Nintendo continue to explore
be a dork and shove my glasses back up in that manner.
That journey includes details on a new form of gameplay on Nintendo DS.
We weren't quite sure what he meant at that point. We're hoping it meant online.
About Nintendo Revolution and the latest incarnation of a legend. Yes, I think you know which legend I'm talking about. Now, I know many of you today walked in with numbers already swimming in your heads. 360, 16 by 9, 1080, 8.2 gigahertz. Well, we'd like to add one more number to the mix.
This is some great writing right here.
And that number is 2. As in 2 billion games. That's the number of games Nintendo has sold since we entered this business 20 years ago.
I wonder what that number is now. How many more billions of copies of games, digital and physical, they've sold since then.
A great beginning. Because if you're ready to move beyond pure numbers to a place where your right brain can envision the best in innovation and the best in gameplay improvement, well, you've come to the right place. What we've got for you today are previews of game experiences which represent both the highest quality and the most diverse
No, straight in the gutter. I had no chance of saving that one.
The key here are 2 little words. The word or, the word and. Nintendo is not an or company with games devoted just to this group or that group. We're an and company. Games for this group
got the slot
and
machine
that
going.
group and for
Unleash
groups
the
that don't
Penguins.
even
Okay,
call
there we go.
themselves gamers yet.
No. Now we're down on the bottom
For 2
table playing
decades,
poker.
Our mission has been not to just play the game, but to change the game. The NES changed the game. Game Boy changed the game. Donkey Kong Country changed the game.
Why does that Game Boy have black
Super Mario
buttons?
64 changed the game. And Nintendo DS changed the game. And more extraordinary change is on the way.
I mean, people really expected, a lot of people really expected DS to be the next Virtual Boy. The fact that they're already able to cite it as a positive example blew a lot of people's expectations out the water.
And
back when Nintendo was all about that silver platinum color, that looked cool until you got even the slightest scratch on it.
Gaming from 2 different perspectives at the same time.
Because that thing about that platinum plastic Nintendo was using, it was just plastic paint on top of a plain, like, uncolored plastic. Whereas when you got something that was black, like my black Game Boy SP, when you scratched that, it was molded out of black plastic. So when it got scratched, it still looked good.
So let me clarify this for a minute, how we look at it internally. Nintendo remains first and foremost a content company. We exist for the love of the game. We're about the levels, the characters, the interface, about the entertainment. We're about reaching what's known and going to the unknown. This is the place where the right brain goes to play. Today, you'll see a new game dimension on Nintendo DS. Today, you'll begin to understand how our revolution
I mean, at the time, the DS Lite was like, oh man, this is so much better, but I really am nostalgic for that original model DS already. Because my first DS was Platinum, and then Mr. Miyamoto signed it at that autograph session at the Nintendo store, so I got a black DS.
For 16 years, Nintendo has owned
that was cool.
The portable game space.
My black DS Fat, that thing was like, before the smartphone era where everyone had electronics, having that black DS, it made it a little sleeker, a little cool, less dorky to have a electronic device in public in that period.
Sold in America. But guess what? They've got company. Game Boy Advance has also sold more than 28 million units in America, even though it launched 8 full months after the PS2. Consider this. Both the Nintendo DS and Sony PSP made their worldwide debuts just before the holidays last year. To date, global sell-through for Nintendo DS stands at over 5 million, or more than twice the level for the PSP.
They've always sold a quarter of the lifetime sales of the GameCube of DS at this point.
Well, the PSP hasn't arrived in Europe yet. So we got there when we said we would, and they didn't. You know what? That's Sony's issue, not my problem.
No, a lot of people that were trying to damage control, I guess I call it damage control, saying like, oh well, PSP is getting outsold by Nintendo DS, but DS has been on the market longer, so it's not fair to compare it. Like no one made that no one made that for GameCube and PS2 when PS2 got on the market before GameCube. No one said, oh, it's not fair to say PS2's outselling GameCube because PS2 got out first. And I think it was actually Jeff Keighley that was making that argument that, oh, well, DS came out first, so it's not fair to say that it's outsold it.
Lifetime sales of GBA and DS.
And I don't want to sound like a PSP hater, because I got that thing on day one from Best Buy, so. And that thing was a great little machine. The UMD discs gave it so much character, even though it was foolish to call them universal discs when they only played on PSP.
Let's move over to your right brains, way over into your right brains, to talk about an application for Nintendo DS that doesn't just create its own genre. In fact, it may not technically be a game at all.
Electroplankton.
Because electroplankton should more accurately be considered a creative tool. Something that not everybody will understand.
I spent so many hours on, like, there were a lot. Used to have to take a lot of bus rides at this point. I used electroplankton to relax on the bus.
At least as much fun as competing.
It was so much fun.
It's an excellent example.
Nintendo wasn't quite sure what to do with this because there was no downloadable thing on it. Nowadays that would be obviously a downloadable game, but at this point they only had the option of game cards to sell it on. And here you're going to see them
into an art form.
spend a lot of time on
He's the
Nintendo
musical director
DS,
of the award-winning
on Electroplankton and Nintendogs.
Off-Broadway, and who's taken his sound
And
from
at
the
this
Indiana
point,
farm fields
this
to
actually
London,
was received very well.
Barcelona, and Moscow.
Nowadays, spending this much time on these casual non-game things like Electroplankton, David Hollins.
I think I've got the best job in the world. I get to
Spending this much time on Electroplankton, which isn't even a game, on Nintendo, which is an ultra-casual game, Nintendo would have gotten like absolutely slaughtered by the mainstream gaming media, by hardcore gamers online. At the time, this did not go over poorly at all. This is before the whole stigma of, oh, Nintendo's abandoned us for the casual gamers. At this point, Nintendo could spend this much time on stuff like Electroplankton and Nintendogs and have it go over well in the mainstream gaming media. Oh, and one time, this guy, and it was specifically this guy, was just on the upper floor of Nintendo World in Rockefeller Center, just casually doing DJ stuff, and it wasn't a special event, he was just there. And I was like, why is he here? I was just kind of like, and I talked to him for a minute. It was really kind of odd.
The overall just warmness of some of the pianos and the other...
And he wasn't even doing Electroplankton or anything from what I remember. He was just kind of just randomly there. And it wasn't even drawing a lot of attention.
The sounds from the unit. I didn't have to add anything else. This entire experience has been just fantastic. I was thinking in my head, what am I going to do to make a song for a video game? But this isn't it at all. I'm making a song from a video game. I'm having this device give me sounds and just letting that and those sounds take me where I want to go musically. And
I mean, this is right at like the sort of dawn of those era where you'd see those chiptune, those raves with those live chiptune performances. You see like a chiptune artist on stage with like a setup like that with a bunch of like 8-bit with a bunch of original model Game Boys.
Wow.
So this is kind of like the dawn of that era of people using the capabilities of these game systems to make do actual live performances.
Hey Reggie, what's up?
I love that move.
That GIF right there became a bit of a meme before the phrase meme was widespread. Reggie going that ooh thing.
When Nintendo asked me to make some music for this, I thought I'd be taking some of my music or tracks and putting on some sounds from the Electroplankton game. But once I got inside, I found the sounds were amazing, they were warm, and I was able to compose the entire tracks using just the sounds from the unit.
Well, that's great. Well, why don't you play it for us?
All right.
Yeah, this is like semi-improv from what I understand. There's certain elements that are improvised, but it's mostly pre-recorded. Yeah, like, I would, like, when playing Electroplankton, I was kind of daydreaming that I was just sort of this, like, bodiless, like, incorporeal being in this sort of blank universe, and I was just sort of waving my hand and just making stuff and making these sounds and colors happen. It was a very relaxing kind of experience. Yeah, this is all stuff he made specifically for this performance, so I'd be absolutely blown away if this triggers some kind of copyright thing. I was not doing that for show. I legit started sort of grooving a bit. And I do recognize all these sounds are from the game. I think he mixed them in a way that you need external audio editing. You need like GarageBand or whatever to mix it like this. But all these sound samples are straight from Electroplankton. No, straight down the gutter. Yeah, this ended up being at retail. This was only sold at the Nintendo store in America at retail. This is only sold at the Nintendo store in Rockefeller Center. And I think it was an online exclusive at like Target or Walmart or something like that. That was the only way to get a cartridge copy of this game. This was later sold in the Nintendo DS iShop, where they, unfortunately, I can't think it was more due to restrictions on what was possible on DSi, but they did part this out and sell the individual modes of this as like $3 or $5 individual downloads on Nintendo DSi.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Reggie. Keep working on those moves.
What's that?
Keep working on those moves.
Thanks, David. Well, we know more creativity means more fun. We also know more people means more fun.
Oh, yeah, that was good because they had this ultra casual non-game thing with Electroplankton. Now we're going to jump a Nintendo Wi-Fi connection.
We didn't invent the concept of online gaming, but we do intend to reinvent it. This is the year that Nintendo players begin connecting with each other in a new way through Wi-Fi internet. We recently announced our first Western partner in creating a groundbreaking infrastructure called Nintendo Wi-Fi Connection. That partner is GameSpy, the global leader in
And it's funny because at this point, I was really more aware of GameSpy as a game news site, not as an internet service provider for connecting online games.
On two distinct levels. If you choose,
and nothing about Nintendo Wi-Fi Connection was ever branded with GameSpy, but it did use them, and it was when GameSpy went out of business, right, not too long after the 3DS came out, that they discontinued the online gameplay services for DS and Wii.
This dual connection system also represents the first foray by GameSpy marrying a portable game system with hotspots around the world. Now,
they later announced a deal with McDonald's that DS would be able to use the Wi-Fi that was installed in certain McDonald's at the time. Because, mind you, at this point, public Wi-Fi is still a very new thing. It was not a widespread thing where you could go to any library or coffee shop and assume that they would be Wi-Fi, or even any supermarket or something like that will have Wi-Fi. That is not the case at this point.
A clear majority of owners. In fact, we see no reason why that participation rate can't reach as high as 90%. Here's why. Our wireless solution tackles three of the main challenges which so far have prevented meaningful expansion.
And it's actually, for Nintendo Wi-Fi Connection, was the reason I got my first wireless router in the home. And yeah, I didn't have any laptops or anything or any devices. The DS was the first Wi-Fi capable device I owned, and I got my router. First household router for playing Mario Kart DS online.
Hotspots and free inside the house through your existing wireless router or USB connection.
And so when I got my 2006 MacBook, which was the first computer I owned that had Wi-Fi built into it, I was ready to go because I had the router that I used for DS Online.
Charges at all to play first-party games wirelessly.
Man, what a bygone, dearly missed age.
And finally, we're working to overcome the overly macho nature of the current online console game world, where a handful of the high testosterone crowd fight for supremacy while the massive casual game players stay away. You see, it's about control, ease, and entertainment. And we envision using
it's
your
not that
DS
hot, but with
to
no
turn
fan or
the
AC
key
on,
for
you know,
full
I just gotta.
Mario Kart action, racing against multiple opponents, all located on different continents, while sitting on your lunch break or waiting for your plane to board. We will make Wi-Fi internet play as welcoming as sitting around the living room with a bunch of your friends.
Yeah, just don't expect any voice
And this
chat.
is a comfortable proposition for developers as well. Around the world, 25 independent publishers are already at work on DS Wi-Fi games, including
I mean, the only
Activision,
DS online
Bandai,
games I seriously ever played
Capcom,
myself
Electronic
were
Arts, Konami,
Mario
Namco,
Kart DS
Sega,
and
THQ,
Metroid Prime
Ubisoft,
Hunters, and then I also
Vivendi,
played
and Square Enix.
the Heart Gold Soul Silver, like Union
Let me
Room
finish
stuff.
with something more specific. We intend for you to be playing Mario Kart DS and Animal Crossing DS, both by DS wireless internet, and both by the end of this year.
And mind you, yeah, I see you dropped Animal Crossing DS there. Animal Crossing was not as big of a... It had a following, but it was not as big of a deal as it is nowadays.
We'll also be playing the first combination LAN Wi-Fi Tony Hawk game, custom designed by Activision for DS. Its online community allows players to form their own skate crews, and a touchscreen makes tricks easier for everyone. And for those who can't wait that long, you'll test drive Mario Kart DS on Wi-Fi internet tomorrow on the show floor.
And it's kind of funny because it would be so easy to fake that using local wireless if they wanted to.
Beyond the portable space, I want to talk about 2 more examples of how we're using portable gaming to expand the total universe of game players. The first is Mr. Miyamoto's latest pet project, Nintendogs.
Uh-oh, here it comes. No one saw what a big deal this game was going to end up being.
And it's taught the Japanese game world to sit up and take notice. It received a rare perfect score from Famitsu, and it's being overwhelmingly voted best in show.
They've had
by
a
Japanese
number of
gamers.
perfect scores since then, but at this
It
time,
remains the
perfect scores were
top-selling
extremely
game
rare.
franchise in Japan, with more than 400,000 copies having sold through in less than a month's time. And as always the case, hit software sells hardware, and this case is no different. The launch of Nintendogs
there we go.
was responsible
Let's go for the royal flush.
for making Nintendo DS
This ball.
the best-selling game system in Japan. In fact, selling more than 3 times the rate of the PSP. Yes, those cute puppy faces have the game blogs panting and slobbering. But behind those looks lies the heart of a very sophisticated piece of design.
No, I mean,
thought
I
maybe
wasn't.
an
I played
outside
this game. I knew I wouldn't be in
perspective
this, but I
would help
really
illustrate.
wanted to put this
So
game
we've
through its
given an
paces. I gave it an
advanced
honest
copy of
try
the
and
US
played it
version
for. I spent
to
a
Tina
good
Wood,
maybe 10
host
hours
of
with it,
GTV.com,
and it was really well put together.
hit interactive show
Because a lot of
on
times these
G4
virtual pet
Video
games
Game
on
TV.
on
And
home
she
console
joins us
on
here today
dedicated game
to help
systems
put
are
her
really
puppy
shovelware. They
through
really
its
put
paces.
AAA
So
level
please welcome
resources into.
Tina Wood.
Tina Wood back when G4 was good-ish.
This is so exciting, Reggie. I'm so excited to play Nintendogs today. I have really been training my dog really hard for the last couple of days, and I'm so curious to see how she's going to do this morning.
Well, that's great. Let's see what she's going to do.
All right, let's wake this puppy up. Let's go. Here we go.
Okay. We're trying to
All
get.
right. Now, the first
Pauline
thing
to
you have to do
fall
in
for us.
Nintendogs is go to the kennel and pick out your dog. So I picked out a pug. She's a girl. I named her Mia. I want to introduce you guys to Mia. And you let me know how cute that you think she is, because I think she's adorable.
Oh.
Aw, there you are, girl. Aw, playing fun for the audience. Come here, girl. Come here, Mia. Hi. Oh, good morning. Good morning, Mia. Now, the first thing you want to do before you start training your dog is show it a little bit of love, right? Okay, can you say hi? Say hi. Good girl. That's my girl.
Yeah, you could. I think,
Yes.
if I remember correctly, you could
Lay
program
down.
what words you would say to make the
Oh,
dogs do
good
certain things, so it
girl,
didn't.
Mia.
So say
Now
hi.
these tricks are fine, but
Yeah,
what's great
Nintendo
about
pug.
this is that you can actually name the tricks anything you want.
Oh yeah,
So
okay, I was
can
right.
name
She
the
answered for me. Thank you,
New
because I've not
Zelda.
played this game since 2005. So
No, I know you haven't seen the new trailer. New Zelda.
that
New
implies that
Zelda.
she got to see the new trailer already.
New Zelda.
Oh, there's a. If I remember correctly,
Alright,
there's a
let's try this.
oddly
Actually, that one,
suggestive
and then
joke
let's
at
try
the
this
end
one.
of this between Tina Wood. There.
Come here, Mia,
Okay.
come here. I know.
There
I
was
know
no
everything I
Nintendo
think about
Cats,
you.
but
She's
there
not
was a
a
game on
Nintendo
Nintendo
Cats.
3DS
I know,
called
I know.
Nintendogs Plus Cats.
Ready? Here we go. Let's try this one.
All right,
Damn it.
is you're at work right
Damn
now. I
it.
hope you don't get caught if it's that
You
sort of
get it,
job.
Mia, you get it. Good girl. Very good.
But yeah, they called it
Alright, well,
Nintendogs
train
Plus
your dog. You
Cats,
gotta have a little bit
which
of fun
started
with
the
it as well, right?
Nintendo
So Nintendo
tradition
was kind
of
enough
calling
to
a
loan me
Nintendo calling their
a little
games
Mario Kart.
something
And I'm gonna
just
have to get
plus
some
something
clothes
else. So
made,
like,
So let's
oh,
have a
you're
little
you're
bit of
on
fun
you
with
get an
me.
hour lunch. Okay,
Hey,
cool.
girl.
Because those jobs where you get like a half-hour lunch break, it's like, oh come on, what are you supposed to do in a half hour? Like you can't run out and get a sandwich somewhere.
Oh, I know,
You have to
just
bring the
stay.
sandwich with you, and you have to chomp it down,
Awesome.
and then
All
you're right
now
back to
I'm
work
gonna
in just a
use this
half-hour
a little
lunch
later on,
break.
So I'm actually going to give her a bath.
So I'm glad you
It'll smell
get
really
your
nice.
proper full
Go
hour,
into my supplies.
as it should be.
Go into my care section, and I actually spent some good money
The
on
last
some good shampoo.
job I had of
So
that
we're gonna actually
nature,
make Mia smell
I got an
really good right
hour,
about now.
and I was paid for
I know,
half
I'm
of it, which was
embarrassing,
great.
Really naked right now. Oh, there you go, girl.
So that first 15 minutes I
It's
especially
upside
treasure
down
because I'm
there.
like, I'm getting paid for
Oh,
doing
she
nothing
loves that.
right
Now
now.
we're gonna rinse her off.
But yeah, I've
here, girl.
since left that
Good
that
job, Mia. You're doing
that
great.
sort of employment. But No, but the thing is, Nintendo, look at all this time Nintendo's spending on Nintendogs.
Alright, so now that our battle
And
is
at
over,
that time,
one of the
like,
most
and
innovative
there was
aspects of
no
Nintendo is
backlash,
the bark
really,
mode.
compared to what you get
This
now.
mode uses
It wasn't like the Wii
wireless
Sports type
technology to
backlash.
search for another dog that Mia can
Like,
play
even
with.
by E3
So let's see how this
2011-12, if they showed even a few moments of a Mii
actually go to
game,
our link.
people at the Nintendo store would start
And actually,
booing
do I
and,
wanna
and
search for
acting
friends
up.
for
Just
Mia
a
to play with?
couple, but
Absolutely.
it was, you did not get the sort of backlash. There wasn't, the
Would you like to have Mia
hardcore
play
gaming
with
public was not trained to have a visceral negative reaction to anything that wasn't strictly at the traditional hardcore gaming audience.
Wireless function on and search for a link partner? Yes, I do. Now I'm actually going to shut this, and hopefully we're going to hear a bark. Maybe somebody out there brought Nintendogs with them.
Yeah, this is the tag. Yeah, the tag mode on Nintendo DS. You had to be playing that specific game. You had to specifically put it in tag mode and put it to sleep. And that extremely limited the amounts of the likelihood of you getting tags on this with the games that use these sort of tag mode things. By the time you got the Nintendo 3DS, you had the Street Pass built in. You didn't even have to have the specific game built into the system. In the system.
And also says I've received a voice
So it was much more versatile and useful.
Let's listen.
Tina, do you want to play?
It said, Tina, would you like to play? I would absolutely love to play.
Do you want to play?
Yeah, at the end of this, if I remember correctly, there's an oddly suggestive moment between Miyamoto and Iwata that I don't think, I mean, not Iwata, Miyamoto, that I don't think was intended. I think it was some kind of accident, just came off that way, but it made it sound like they were suggesting something that they did not mean to.
Mr. Miyamoto, I am a huge fan of your Nintendogs. I hope you're not mad that I was showing it off, but Reggie actually made me do it, so.
No, it's alright. Even serious gamers should have fun with their puppies.
Absolutely.
Right now, my Shiba Mario is teaching me.
And this is before Shiba Inu dogs became a
I see
meme.
that. She's doing very, very well, actually.
She's quite happy.
Well, Mr. Miyamoto, I think our dogs have become very good friends. And this has been, oh, look at the handstand.
Oh, he's very good at
Yeah,
handstand.
don't worry, Mia. Look at Mia can't do it quite yet. But this has really been a blast. I really appreciate it.
Oh.
They're good friends.
They're not showing the game screen at this point. Okay. Alright. Alright, I have to stop. Only, there's certain, like, this is the official Nintendo feed. Certain feeds, they didn't show what was happening on the screen. Because what happened was, in this early version of Nintendo's, I think what happened was the two dogs that, you know, because Miyamoto's dog and her dog were, like, in the game together with the linked gameplay. And the dogs were clipping together in a way that was interpreted as being suggestive, and it was not meant to come off that way. So Nintendo, like, cut off of the screen and just showed them, like, on stage. It didn't show what was happening on the game screen. And you hear the audience kind of, like, sort of hooting and hollering at what was happening on the screen that kind of implied something that Nintendo was not intending to. And then there was sort of an unscripted moment after this that made it, that came off even weirder.
I did not teach her that, by the way. I just want you to know.
Yeah, so just to give context to what was happening there.
You probably don't know all the software.
No, I don't.
yet,
I've
do
only had the game for a couple of days, so I'm working on it.
Well, would you like me to show you a few tricks?
Yeah, that would be great. I appreciate it.
Then please follow me.
Okay.
Backstage.
Oh, okay.
Right?
No problem.
Yeah, that
Mr. Miyamoto!
that-
Woo!
they did not mean, that was after what just happened, that colored that. Yeah, that was,
Then please follow me.
Okay.
Backstage.
I'm just
Oh,
trying to get
Okay.
Right?
No problem.
the interface. Okay, there we go. Oh, no, there we go.
Miyamoto!
Please go away. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that part of the wonders of live entertainment. Well, that's why these companies don't really do
Thank you,
live
Mr.
stage shows
Miyamoto, and
anymore.
Thank you, Tina. Now, I said we had two more examples of the future of portable gaming future.
Now, this was a total shock right here.
Here's the second. Now, I know you haven't seen this.
Gotta get it out of there. Trying to get it out of his...
It's Game Boy Micro.
Total surprise reveal right there. It did not end up selling that well because Nintendo didn't really market it right. They needed to sell this faceplate separately, and they failed to do that. It also need to be cheaper, but...
Game Boy Micro. Just a hair bigger and about 2/3 the weight of an iPod Mini.
Yeah, and it's funny, Nintendo draws that iPod Mini comparison. iPod Minis were like the rage back at this point. Within like a month of this, they announced the iPod Nano. That made the Game Boy Micro look like a brick.
But it is a brand new look.
I had an iPod Nano when I was in college. It's like, yo, I've got the new iPod, man. Saying that I had an iPod Nano in college either is going to make me sound very old or very young to a lot of my viewers. Now, most of these faceplates never came out, and the whole idea was that you could customize your Game Boy Micro by buying new faceplates. They never sold the faceplates separately. The only way you could buy these faceplates separately was by buying them as spare parts through Nintendo's tech support site, which basically no one except me even knew about.
Game Boy Advance or Nintendo DS, but rather a further extension of portable play. If competitors don't like our 2-to-1 advantage, dominating market share with both SP
and that system, the Game Boy Micro, ended up being the last new model hardware release for the Game Boy line. And I actually have I have a Game Boy Micro, and 2 of the faceplates are signed by Reggie when I met him at the Nintendo store. Later this year, actually. It was later in 2005.
Internet means a new way to play DS. But to repeat, at heart, we remain a content company. What's most important are the new games available to play on your Nintendo handhelds. New games just like these.
Now, I pre-muffled the audio for this. Actually, now wouldn't be a bad time to check on my, make sure I'm not dropping too many frames. I'm never dropping frames. Just like my early experience of streaming before I upgraded my internet, it just has me fixated on checking and making sure that my frames are running properly. Alright. There's Pack and Roll. I never played that one, actually, Pack and Roll. Alright, I'm just looking at how my stream looks on mobile, and it looks fine. I just want to make sure that it's not just looking good on my computer, and then when I look at it, you know, on a mobile device, it looks like mess, because I've had that happen to me. Oh yeah, I forgot that Beautiful Joe DS was a thing. Oh, there's Mr. Miyamoto. I mean, Mr. Iwata.
We gave you DS, a new Game Boy, and new games to play on them.
And mind you, I know the volume's quiet, but I've maxed out the volume. This is just what the recording gives us to work with. That Prototype Revolution logo.
We've got one.
Yeah, my first car, I made a bootleg, like, do-it-yourself Nintendo Revolution bumper sticker to put on my car.
This is a Nintendo Revolution prototype we have with us for meetings this week in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's the... Yeah, it was going to be black originally.
Revolution is by far the smallest console we've ever manufactured. In its final form, it will be even smaller than this, about the size of 3 standard DVD cases stacked together.
Yeah, so they're saying that the final Revolution, or Wii, as it became known, would be even smaller than what he's holding. What he's holding is what they launched, and that is the size of 3 DVD cases. Now, they did come out with the Wii Mini years later, which is like the size of, like, 2 DVD cases. Yeah, the
These
first
are the
Nintendo console to be
prototype
displayed
colors we are
vertically.
thinking about. We haven't decided yet on a final choice. Maybe you
Only
and
the white,
readers
the white ended
would
up being
like
the
to let us
standard
know
version
what you think.
of these colors they showed. I don't know if they're going to show the slide. They had like,
Evolution.
okay, they ended up launching it in white. Later, the black one became available, and the red one was released as a tie-in for Mario's 25th anniversary.
Same self-loading media drive. Owners can also choose a small internal attachment to play movies and other DVD content. The system
He stopped for applause there when he said that there'll be attachment for the Wii to play DVDs. He stopped for applause. There was no applause. There was nothing impressive about that. That was very embarrassing, and that might have been the moment where Nintendo decided, yeah, let's not bother with the DVD attachment.
we will also be incorporating our own digital rights management software to deter sharing of intellectual property.
I mean, nowadays Nintendo's gone really overboard with the DRM crap to the point where, I really am not even that confident in any of my digital purchases for Nintendo Switch, including the one I'm playing right now. Okay, look at this. I have to pause and tell you something. Okay. You might not have heard about this. A few days ago, there was an outage of Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo eShop on Nintendo Switch. And I'm playing a downloaded game because there's certain subscription services like the NES app and the Super Nintendo app that are attached to Nintendo Switch Online, where it checks to make sure your subscription is paid up to date before you can play the games. This is a game, I downloaded it, I own it, it's not attached to a subscription service. But when Nintendo's network went down, it made everyone unable to play games that they downloaded that were on their system. So if this system went down right now, I wouldn't be able to play Versus Pinball that I purchased and own on my system, because they wouldn't have been able to verify with Nintendo headquarters that I didn't, and that I'm not playing a pirated copy of the game. And that's absolutely outrageous, and it really deters me from buying Nintendo digital content on Nintendo Switch, even though I have to. Either that or it's nothing, so. But I will buy physical whenever I have the chance to, for the most part, because of that kind of stuff. And this is stuff that I do not think the DRM would have been that severe if Mr. Iwata, bless him, was still in charge of the company.
To the development of our core technology. When you turn on Revolution and see the graphics, you will say, wow.
Not quite. I mean,
our partners, IBM and ATI,
the expectations for Nintendo Revolution's graphics were so low that a lot of people, including me, were impressed that there was any visible improvement over GameCube, because the Revolution, or Wii as it became known as in its final form, was effectively just an upgraded GameCube. I'm sorry, the volume is very low. I wish I could turn it louder, but there's nothing I can do.
The power of their core processor and their on-screen displays. Let me try to suggest the added benefits of our technical approach.
Yeah, this is Satoru Iwata trying to talk as much about Revolution while revealing virtually nothing about it.
Has married a controller to a console and a console to a TV. In the next generation, the addition of the internet will be important to all consoles and particularly important to Nintendo. Wi-Fi capability will be built into every Nintendo Revolution. How these four elements, controller, console, TV, and internet, interact with each other forms a central difference in Revolution design. Our goal in customizing these connections
time to start playing poker up on the top part of this lower table,
which is functional and appealing to every member of a household, whether they consider themselves gamers or not. It is right for everyone. I can confirm that all controllers for Revolution will be wireless using Broadcom technology.
Broadcom is kind of, as I understand it, just sort of a slightly customized version of Bluetooth.
In ways we will share with you later.
You can hear the groans in the audience. I just want to say the speculation at this point was that the Revolution, as it was being called, would use a controller that had a touchscreen in it. And at that point,
games will be ready for launch. And I am pushing our teams to make sure Smash Brothers is one of them.
yeah, Smash Brothers did not launch with the Revolution, or Wii as it became called. No, but there was so much widescreen speculation. A lot of people just presumed that Revolution would have a controller with a touchscreen in it, and they're not talking about like the Wii U gamepad. They're talking about like a controller like this with a little screen in the middle.
It is the game experience.
And but what they meant by touchscreen controller was not what that would mean, and even because we're still dealing in a
for a few minutes.
the phrase smartphone existed at this point, but a smartphone, what that meant was a Palm Pilot type PDA with a telephone keypad on it and a little antenna that extended out. That's what a smartphone was at this point. The idea of something like iPhone, iPod Touch, iPad was not a thing yet.
Is set to debut with Revolution. What is that? I'm sorry, but Mr. Miyamoto is keeping quiet for now.
He's talking about, they're talking about Wii Sports right there.
Foolish to ignore the franchise we've already created, the best group of game stars in history. So you will certainly be seeing them on Revolution. Next generation versions of Mario and Zelda are already underway.
I mean, you could argue if they're talking about something other than Twilight Princess, because Twilight Princess launched with the Wii. There was not a Zelda from the ground up for Wii until 2011 Skyward Sword, which was really towards the tail end of the Wii's lifespan. I mean, Wii U was already announced at that point.
Some will take you places you've never gone before. The key here is not what you are playing, but how you will be playing. We expect that, much like Nintendox and Electroplankton, Revolution will act to create entirely new genres to expand the
I've been live for 3 hours at this point, and
to help
I've been on screen for 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Who have been so important to game creation for Nintendo GameCube will provide exclusive content for Revolution. We expect strong third-party support in both hemispheres because we believe they will appreciate our creative approach. For
Lost the last ball.
Square
Game
Enix
over.
is already working on a Wi-Fi enabled version of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles for Revolution.
Yeah, that did happen. I forgot about that, but that happened.
On one hand, Revolution is the perfect home for video game masterpiece. Games that look beautiful, games that play flawlessly, masterpieces that connect you to the game's story like no system before. But not everyone sets out to create an expensive, time-consuming masterpiece.
Okay, here they're talking about what eventually became WiiWare
also earned its name.
and Nintendo eShop.
We are convinced game creation on Revolution can be the most developer-friendly.
Yeah, because at this point, online, like downloadable small games that otherwise wouldn't be suitable for a retail release were kind of just stuck in this sort of limbo where they really couldn't come out on anything.
Commonly move well into 8 figures.
And this idea that every game didn't have to be this AAA extravaganza was a new thing. Now it's standard with indie games and downloadable games.
To help maximize creative freedom while controlling development investments. This is a console where the big idea can prevail over big budgets.
And mind you, at this point, I think the Xbox 360 was already out. That was the only new system out, or soon to be out, I think.
Of the Revolution puzzle. I have talked about.
No, it was soon to be out. It wasn't out yet. It came. 360, I think, came out later this year. It definitely was 2005, not 2006.
Will accept GameCube games, but we are redefining the term backward.
Here's the announcement of the Virtual Console.
That's because we have designed Revolution to be a virtual console capable of downloading 20 years of Nintendo content.
The idea that was listen to the applause for that. This is a revolutionary idea at the time. Listen to that applause.
You will be able to purchase great games originally created for NES, Super NES, and Nintendo 64.
And he said purchase, like the idea. I remember there's initial
Nintendo Revolution
shock.
is technically capable of playing virtually every Nintendo console game ever created. The idea of a single device transporting
He's gonna
us
mention
back to
Earthbound.
the first Excite Bike, Earthbound, or Punch Out.
Yeah, the first Earthbound. That I mean, he's Mother 3 was still not out at this point. The only Earthbound game, the only game in that series to come out in North America or outside of Japan was Earthbound on Super Nintendo. So when he says the first Earthbound, he might be talking about Mother, which didn't get released until Wii U as Earthbound Beginnings. Now it's on Nintendo Switch as well. But yeah, Earthbound, I think it had some legal concerns with the music that they ended up deciding to just release it anyway, and they didn't have problems with it. But Earthbound never came out on the Wii Virtual Console. And I remember the coverage on G4 when they announced this concept of the Virtual Console. They were just talking on G4 national television, right? They're like, oh, there's there's going to be this Virtual Console for Wii U the Wii name wasn't announced yet, for Revolution, where you could download N64, Super Nintendo, and N64 games are out. But they were actually talking. This is like G4TV.com with like Jeff Keighley and the likes, mainstream gaming media to coverage, saying, yeah, but you have to pay for the games and you could just download the ROMs. The fact that they were actually uttering that out loud on mainstream gaming media, like, it's just such a bygone era. They would never dare say something like that on mainstream gaming media nowadays.
Make us all feel young again. At least for a while. In the end, Nintendo Revolution shares a common vision with one we outlined for Nintendo DS last year. The machine is just a tool. The experience.
And I'm trying to get into the headspace of this being all we know of Revolution, is that there'll be some kind of special controllers that'll involve the internet. The controllers will be wireless, and you'll be able to download like old Nintendo games onto it.
And wireless connection and our flash memory may begin to make educated guesses on what game experience we might be constructing.
No.
When it arrives next year, we intend for Revolution to fully serve the core gamers with new titles that fully meet their requirements.
When you notice Miyamoto saying core gamer there, deeper into the Wii era, there would be accusations that, and it's not just one or two people saying this. I hear this a lot. Oh, Iwata is erasing hardcore gamers by using the phrase core gamers. He's trying to erase hardcore gamers' visibility and make it all about casual just by saying core instead of hardcore. And, like, the paranoia about Nintendo abandoning traditional games and gamers was so ridiculous. And so, like, heated at one point.
More opportunities for developers and more imagination in defining what
we lost
a video
it,
game can
and that's
be.
game over.
It is my job to run a global company. But within my job, what still gives me the most satisfaction is seeing someone pick up a controller and finding surprise and delight. What touches their heart still touches my heart.
Aww.
Thank you very much.
I think next we're going into sales numbers type stuff for a while with George Harrison. And I have not watched this in a couple of years at this point. Oh, yep, I was right.
Now what Mr. Wada talked about are new game experiences for our next Nintendo console. But let's spend a couple minutes talking today about new console experiences coming this year. GameCube is now sold through to more than 10 million homes in North America alone. And they're enjoying a library of games that numbers more than 400, with another 60 new titles coming in 2005. Now, our approach has been consistent. Satisfy the core player and satisfy the casual player. We do that with exclusive content and by effectively leveraging the industry's greatest group of game franchises. So here's a quick tour of what's just ahead. In Battalion Wars...
Okay, they gave it its final name at this point.
Action, strategy, warfare, and third-person shooting in a novel way. You must save the world by clearing over 20 missions. But guiding the troops has never been easier. By seamlessly blending action-oriented gameplay with real-time strategy, Battalion Wars lets you command entire squads at the touch of a button. Slip behind the wheel of a powerful tank, a helicopter, or a fighter jet. Or show your foes the business end of a bazooka, a flamethrower, or a rocket launcher. Whatever your strategy, you've never experienced action
Nintendo
like
would
this
never.
before.
I mean, I said like, yeah, they wouldn't now. They wouldn't. They wouldn't
Pokemon
dare.
returns to GameCube in a major way, with the impending launch of Pokemon XD: Gale of Darkness. This game embarks on a whole new adventure, a full-fledged RPG. A dark and sinister plot sets a serious tone for this mega adventure. But that's just as it should be.
I mean,
because
Pokemon Coliseum was kind of like that too. It was basically this. I mean, it's set in the same world, dealing with some of the same ideas. The idea of corrupted shadow Pokemon that owned by abusive trainers that the player could steal to purify them and rehabilitate them.
Advance battles to the big screen in 3D by connecting to Pokemon XD when it launches in October. Capcom
bonus
is
stage.
delivering a game that developer Hiroyuki Kobayashi describes simply as blood, swearing, and mayhem. Killer 7 is unquestionably unique and mind-blowing. A storyline revolving around a main character with 7 personalities embedded in a graphical presentation that achieves the developer's dream of creating a work of postmodern art.
That did not last long. But
this year,
yeah, it's interesting hearing.
Reducing the workload for the hardest working guy in the video game
Now,
industry, Mario.
I want to stop for give a little context here. Now, at this point, I remember on G4 there was some backlash on G4 and as well as on the game community about how many Mario spin-offs there are. But this is in an age before nowadays we're kind of more used to getting several Mario platformers per generation. At this point, Super Nintendo had Super Mario World back in '91, arguably Super Mario World 2, but that was really considered more of the first Yoshi game than the sequel to Super Mario in terms of the popular consciousness and the marketing. Then Mario 64 was on N64. Then there was Mario Sunshine 3 years in 2002, I think. And so 3 years before this in 2005. So you could argue that between 91 and 2005, there'd only been 3 major mainline home console Mario platformers. So it's not like we were used to getting a whole bunch of Mario platformers. So to getting flooded with all these spin-offs and rapid fire, seemingly.
Mario's taking on 4 new leading roles.
So...
First, he'll grab a glove and step onto the diamond in Mario Baseball.
I did not play this.
It's hitting and pitching with multiplayer elements for up to 4 competitors. Signature Mario action also moves on to the soccer pitch in Super Mario Strikers.
Yeah, we're getting the successor to this either already out or very soon on the Switch.
This game of soccer, unlike anything before.
This is before they added that sort of edgy element to these games,
also features 4-player action.
to the presentation.
Well, with all these workouts, of course, nobody deserves a party more than Mario. So that's what we're giving him in Mario Party 7.
Yeah, there was a point in the GameCube era where Mario Party was borderline annualized. It was getting almost to like Call of Duty levels, where people were kind of getting sick of
and
it.
a couple of new playable characters. Of course, when that party's winding down, Mario can still dance the night away as he makes his premiere in Dance Dance. It's Dance Dance Revolution for Mario Mix.
For Mario Mix.
This franchise gets a brand new look with the characters and the backgrounds you know so well from Mario's universe. All told, this will be a banner year for Nintendo GameCube. So take a look.
Do I have to mute this? Okay, let me go ahead and mute that. Okay. No, he didn't launch the ball high enough. Actually, now wouldn't be a bad time. Yeah, whenever I mute my during these trailer compilations, that's also when I go to check, make sure my I'm actually broadcasting as I believe myself to be, and it looks like everything's still running good. Yeah, that's good, and that's good. Yeah, it looks like we're all in good shape. So let's keep going. We'll just stand by so we can unmute this once. Oh yeah, you see a lot of this is still in the era of like, you know, I guess retail like video game adaptations of. Yeah, retail video game adaptations of Hollywood movies. Even like, yeah, you really don't see that so much anymore. Now you get like a mobile match 3 puzzle game for a tie-in for a movie. You don't see like these home console, retail releases for these movie tie-in games so much anymore. Oh, Nintendo Pen and Chase Baseball. That game was 100% complete and never actually was released. Like, they just completed that game and just did not release it to the public. And I heard, from what I understand, I heard that game was, like, within, like, a week of shipping to stores. It was a real last-minute decision to cancel it, from what I understand. And that's one of those things that you're just waiting to leak eventually, Nintendo Pen and Chase Baseball. A realistic baseball sim developed and published by Nintendo that just did not happen.
Well, of course, we have saved the best for last.
Oh, here comes Zelda.
Once again, Link is ready to storm into the game world. No doubt he is part of your own personal game history and part of your gamer's soul. Now, over the years, he has changed.
And at this point, I was like totally just saying, like, I fully expect Werewolf Link
prepare to see Link as you've never seen him
in this game, and I was pretty much effectively right. I guess it was wolf transformation and not like a full moon triggered like transformation or anything like that. But man, the hype going into this atmosphere they're setting right here. And you can edit this together like perfectly with the Game Developer Conference 2005 trailer, where this feels like the second half of the trailer from 2005. And this was, at this point, the Twilight Realm was depicted sort of as a black and white horror film. The whole bloomed out, bleeding, colorful effect, I think what gave it a lot more character was something they did during the year delay. And the fantastic music composed specifically for this trailer. Love the storytelling. I mean, the storytelling here makes it look even more like a werewolf transformation. Like he's like wandering into the woods and like now. Now the transformation visual effect here is a bit more of, I guess, what I would call a morph. Whereas in the final game, I love how like the art style borderline changes here. Just like because Midna is so different from the other human characters we saw so far. But no, it's like more of like a metamorphosis sort of effect. Whereas the final effect for Link becoming Wolf Link is almost sort of like the wolf body is something that like sort of sort of like sprouts out from in him and sort of envelops him as almost sort of like a Venom type transformation. And I think it's more distinctive. I like the more like metamorphosis type transformation as it's depicted here, but now once the trailer ends, I want to tell a story real quick. It's the official reveal of the Twilight Princess name. The trademark had leaked, but there was no proof that... And I remember there was a lot of backlash because the name Princess being in the game was like... And it wasn't because of the Twilight books, which I don't think really blew up at this point, but... Oh, like, Princess is in the name. Oh, it's supposed to be a more serious game, but they're making it sound girly and kiddie. I remember there being backlash because the word Princess was in the name, but... When they did the Game Developer Conference 2005, which was in March, and this is in May, so it's the month before this one, when they did the reveal for the second trailer for Twilight Princess, they showed it on Attack of the Show. And whenever a big game trailer would come out, they'd often show it. And when there were the two co-hosts that day on Attack of the Show, one of them wanted to show the trailer for the second trailer for the then unnamed second trailer for the realistic Zelda, and the second co-host was being such a jerk about it, and they made him, the second host, like cut the trailer live on television halfway through the trailer, and being like, "Oh, no one wants to see this kiddie Nintendo crap. Like we cater to like a hardcore audience." And then people are like, "Oh, come on, we watched that trailer you wanted to see yesterday, and you're cutting me off mid trailer." And they were arguing live on stage because the second guy live on television was cutted the trailer, refused to let him show the entire trailer because they're like, "Oh, come on, we cater to adults. No one wants to see this kiddie Nintendo crap on our channel." And the other guy was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you're actually shutting me down and not showing the trailer because it's for Nintendo, but we saw the trailer for whatever PlayStation or Xbox game you wanted to see yesterday." And they were actually having that discussion live on stage. That's kind of the point at Nintendo's, I guess, public perception was that the other co-host was afraid that they would alienate their audience by covering a Nintendo game on their show. So, yeah, I just wanted to tell that story real quick. I wish I had the footage of that somewhere.
Please welcome the producer of the Zelda series and the director of Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Mr. Eiji Aonuma.
The volume is very low on this. I'm very sorry. So I don't think you'll be able to hear much of the audio for this. But real quick, so basically, Mr. Aonuma is going to talk about what's in that envelope is a Nintendo DS card that was given out to the people in their back when Game Boys would hand out physical press kits. That is the trailer that we just saw that plays on a Nintendo DS, and it is it is sought off after these days, but it's very weird that it's a GameCube game, a trailer for a GameCube game on a Nintendo DS game card. I mean, once again, this is before YouTube. This is before YouTube was a thing. So, like, getting this out there for people, I guess it was a weird thing to do.
It's about exploring. This year, not just Zelda, but wireless Mario Kart, Nintendogs, and a slick new way to show off your portable passion. Then, beyond this year, a revolution awaits. We look forward to seeing you on the show floor tomorrow, and be prepared to let your right brain run wild. Thank you.
All right, so that covers 2003, 2004, and 2005. Those 3 years together to tell the story from Nintendo at the bottom of their game to Nintendo resurging with Nintendo DS, and then resurging with Nintendo, the successful launch of Nintendo DS, GameCube winning back a lot of market share. Actually, I'll go.